And through Buddy Bowie, we got a record deal of our own, even before we had a singer who were pursuing record deals. Some of the first demos were just instrumentals.
I don't think it would have ever happened without Buddy Bowie and Bill Lowry prompting it on, because we had no particular interest in it at the time. We made commercials for other people, some of us, and worked as a backup band on other people's records. Somebody would want to come in and do a demo and they'd need a band, and we'd do that, and we did that for a while, and we did it over at Lefebvre's studio.
There's a rhythm section down in Atlanta that plays together really good. They're easy to get along with. They're very creative. You know, Barry would come in the studio and you'd say, "Give me a solo." "I don't like that one, Barry. Try something else." He would get upset, get defensive, get his ego hurt. He'd just give you another solo. "Oh, you want a different attitude? Let me try this sound over here. Push this button, turn this, put out this other guitar. Let me try this Telly instead of this Gibson." Just easy going, good old country boys, man. Just burn up a guitar.
I was approached by both Mylon and Buddy about the same time as far as becoming part of a band, either the rhythm section or Mylon Lefebvre.
Mylon came close to getting Barry back, real close. Barry was into what he was doing. I think Buddy had to come off the hip to get Bailey to stay in Atlanta and stay in the studio. Thank goodness he did.
Yeah.
Bailey turned out to be one of the greatest guitar players that ever lived.
We just came to the agreement that we would get a singer and become a band of our own. Rodney Justo was the selected singer. And so we did one album with him about '71. The album really went nowhere, but we pursued.
It took a couple of years there to get the first album all finished, you know, and amongst all the other work we were doing.
About the time I quit Lefebvre and went over there as an assistant engineer at Studio One, they were right in the middle of cutting their first album with Rodney Justo doing the vocal. I was dying to sing, so every chance I got, you know, I would listen to playbacks and be in there, and I said, "Man, you know, I'd love to sing that, scratch for that or something." The first song I ever sang for him was Days of Our Lives, which was off the first album. Rodney wasn't threatened by that because he was a tremendous singer and everything. I was just enjoying myself. He was having a good time. But as time rocked on, the guys were getting paid session work, you know, for playing. And Rodney, we never did any vocal sessions at all. And Rodney just came to the point that he had to decide whether to lose his family or move on, and he moved on. Thank goodness, because I moved in.
We would do records, commercial records, like the classics for Billy Joe Royal, B.J. Thomas, 2 or 3 days a week or 3 or 4 days a week, and then we would work on our own stuff.
The first album I sang on was Back Up Against the Wall, the second album, Back Up. And at that point in time, the first album was done a lot of acoustic guitar things and open beat tuning and arpeggio finger picking and that type of thing. When we did the second album, things turned a lot harder. We started doing what, you know, honky-tonk rock and roll type. We did a couple of cuts like that. Back Up Against the Wall in Cold Turkey, Tennessee. Those were hard rock and southern picking songs. And we still did some of the acoustic stuff. That's when we started broadening the scope of what we were doing and becoming a band. And sounded like players that had played together for years, and all were hungry and chomping at the bit. And started becoming the rhythm section.
The second album to me, actually, that's when Ronnie came into the group. was more, it sounded more like a group. You know, I thought Back Up Against the Wall was a little raw, you know, and that's, I think there is, in the end is when we realized that we were going to be a Southern rock touring group.
I began to realize how much it cost to run a studio, and we had great engineer Rodney Mills who had designed the place too, and had assistant engineers and all this. These people had to be paid.
We've been a family. The hours we spent in the first 5 years of 1970 at the studio, if I had $1 for every hour we spent in the studio, I'd be a wealthy guy, beyond compare. Dean and I were both single. When I came up, Dean and I started living together. We lived together in Studio One in a room upstairs, and heated our beans on the coffee pot warmer and took baths.
Took a long time for me to get warm.
Took baths by pouring coffee water through the coffee maker, and that was the hot water.
Yeah, Buddy never would get hot water out.
He wouldn't get hot water.
I had a manager in New York. He also managed Al Cooper, who was involved with Blood, Sweat and Tears and many of these other groups in New York. Al loved Southern music and what we were doing out here. So we made a deal with Al that Al would record in the daytime, and I would record with the rhythm section at night. So he came in then and he did Skinner.
Dean and I were upstairs in the office asleep the night the Leonard Skinner band roared into town. And we were just completely beat and up there trying to sleep. And there were some people downstairs raising mortal Cain. And I'm bad to somebody to wake me up makes me ill. I jumped up and ran to the top of the stairs and says, "You GD rednecks, shut the F up." And I heard a roar and they all come stomping up the steps, and I slammed the door and locked it. It kept us from getting beaten up. But that was the night we met Leonard Skinner. That was our first night in.
The way we did things with Atlanta Rhythm Section, we would cut a basic track where everybody would go in and, like, let's say JR or Robert and Dean and I would come in with some songs, and we were cutting an album. So okay, all the guys would come in and they would take chord charts just like they did back in the session days, and Barry and the guys that weren't involved with the song would write down a chord chart, and we would go out and we'd start trying to work it up. We never went out and played songs live like a lot of bands did and come back in and record them. But we would record the band playing together. We would record, you know, for 2 or 3 days till hit some kind of magic.
Well, generally we would have some titles or maybe some lyrics, you know, some lines to a verse or something. Or sometimes I would have musical things already written, like, for instance, Dog Days. I had written that sometime before we actually got down to putting the lyrics and stuff to it. Or, you know, or sometimes when you're there, you just come up with something totally new.
I am so in you, I can't think of nothing else.
There were times where I didn't care whether the take was good or not. I was ready to do another one just for the fun of it. You know, I did 4 or 5 takes just to try 4 or 5 different approaches and see what came out.
We knew that we had chemistry, but you got to develop that chemistry, you know, to where you have your own sound. You sound like you. And it took, I would think, maybe 4 or 5 years really to get it to where it sounded like us, to where if you heard it on radio, you would know whether they said our name or not. You would know that it was us just from the sound. So yeah, you have to develop that.
your eyes.
We recorded very slowly. Took a long time doing what we were doing. And we were, I reckon perfectionist would be the word. Maybe overly so sometimes. Maybe I might have been guilty sometimes of taking some of the spontaneity out of it by doing that over and over. The spontaneity was mostly in Barry's solos, where we jammed them in a lot of time. That was kind of the, okay, we'll structure this real tight up front, and then at the end, you know, let Barry blow the doors off, and everybody jammed, and then everybody come out of the, it's kind of like truth in a structured poem.
Listen, babe, drive me crazy.
I usually think about a solo or a part as the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I might have a rough idea of what those three parts would be, and just let everything kind of, the other notes work its way through.
We went from MCA Records with the first album to Polydor Records. And the third album we made, we were saying, they've got a lot of money invested in it. If it don't happen this time, it's probably our last shot. We named that album Third Annual Pipe Dream. And it had that Doraville, which was a regional hit. I think it was 37 or 40 in the country. So that gave us enough gas to keep going, and we struggled for a good 5 years, you know, 5 albums. After Third Annual Pipe Dream with Doraville, well, of course, it gave us time and the money and the opportunity to go on recording. And the next album, I guess, was Dog Days. We had been we were starting to get press. They're different from everybody else that's playing Southern rock. They're not just a twin guitar band. Well, it made us proud. It felt like people saw what we were trying to do and saw that there was something special about us. So we went ahead on, and Dog Days, one of the prettiest tracks on there is the title track. Dog Days is just a beautiful ballad, basically piano. Sounds like a gospel ballad or something. In 1976 was our first gold album, and we had 30 days to cut it. Up to that point, we had taken 3 months to cut everything we had ever done. For some reason, we were late starting or something. We had a deadline and had to do it in 30 days. We went in the session and started with the songs structured out, but maybe one verse written and a bridge, and still had the lyric to complete. And we just put on blinders and went straight ahead and did that thing and delivered it in 30 days, never looked back, and that was the one that went gold.
And red on the day that blue. I just can't be down on you now. Wonder what's with you.
When we made Rock and Roll Alternative, if that album hadn't been a hit, there wouldn't have been any more band, because this was '76. We had 4 albums, and if that hadn't happened, I don't think that there would have been a band.
Give me an album a year, and that will take up a year's time. Doing everything that's involved in doing, you know, the writing, the recording, and then you have to tour, promote the album. Yeah, I don't think people do it quite that much, that often nowadays.
The struggle to keep up the pace. I just can't be that old dog in dog. The Reds keep winning the red race, but I'm not gonna let it bother me tonight. I'm not gonna let it bother me tonight. The world is in an uproar and I chill in inside, but I won't let it bother me tonight. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna let it bother me tonight. Tomorrow I might go as far into the sand, but I will not let it bother me tonight. Not tonight.
After we had the hit album, Rock and Roll Alternative, which was a big album, we had the hit So Into You, then everything then changed and the band became a concert attraction. When these guys were playing on stage, they weren't just some kids from high school. They were playing in a band. These were guys that were accomplished musicians that played on numbers of hit records and stuff. Champagne Jam was actually was a conceptual idea for an album. And then we wrote a song because that was the title of the album. We were a zillion bands at that time trying to make it, and you had to be good on stage. You had to get an encore. You had to get that crowd going. They had to learn how to do all that, and I didn't know anything about it. And so we all learned together by trial and error, and it was a long way from little clubs around Atlanta, Alex Cooley's Ballroom, to Grant Field.
I don't think it dawned on me that I had actually filled those shoes that I had set out to fill years before until the late 70s. Maybe it was the night we played the Champagne Jam in Atlanta. And we went on stage, and I think the third song was Champagne Jam, and everybody lit a light. So 50,000 dots, you know. And I got chill bumps. It was some special night. And it kind of started sinking in that I'd actually somehow stumbled into it and accomplished what I dreamed about doing all those years.
It looked like everybody in that whole stadium flicked their big.
When you get to a level of arenas we were starting to play, you know, you had to be a performer, not just a player. And we all grew into that together. I guess from 1975, from the 1st of 75, there was a tremendous change in the live stage presentation from 75 until the middle of 1976. In that year and a half, we went from a bunch of guys who were just a little timid to wide open. And so when Champagne Jam was out, we were ready for it. It just all happened at once, but it was a steady building process.
Champagne Jam was the focused album. We had, we were on the point then, instead of this eclectic, different stuff that we had been doing all along, we were on the point at that time. Champagne Jam wasn't a hit record, but it's an anthem.
It was a hard thing, it was a struggle. We had to stay with it and believe in it when nobody else did, and it was especially difficult in the face of the Southern rock thing coming out of Macon, because they were burning everything up, and we were so different from them. People would look at us and say, what do y'all think y'all are doing? You know, that kind of thing. It would have been easy to be like everybody else, but we were into what we were doing and take a lot of pride in what we were doing.
Jimmy Carter invited us to the White House. And we were on the south lawn, and we looked up there and see this beautiful mansion. It's so majestic looking, you know. And it was really something. We were very thrilled to play for President Carter.
He came up and said, "That's a fine guitar player." I think he actually said Barry. I think he was rehearsed enough to know my name. And so I was impressed with that. The whole affair was very pleasant. It was actually his son's birthday.
I was thinking about it last night. How thrilled I would have been if you'd have told me a few years ago I was going to be doing it. I'm very excited about it.
Have you ever been to the White House?
Never have.
What do you think it's going to be like?
It'll be a gas. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a first for us, of course. We still got 3 other concerts to get out of the way first, though. Then we'll go see our man Jimmy.
I would like to introduce to you the Atlanta rhythm section, my friends. Not only are we both from the same part of the country, but I remember when they first started that all the critics and commentators said they didn't have a chance. And they said the same thing about me.
He's homesick for days back on. Homesick for home sweet home. Yes, where were you in '69? Smoking dope and drinking wine. Just how long? Just two drums beat an old refrain. Shakespeare, that man, like a bird song.
Buddy told me time and again that y'all sit down in one night and you fall like dead. Imaginary lover, bother me tonight. So will you.
Yeah.
That's pretty strong stuff for one night's work. I mean, that's a career's worth of work. You guys were on a roll.
Never turn you down.
There's three kind of songs. There's good songs, there's bad songs, and there's hit songs. And so that's, I suppose we've always endeavored to write hit songs.
It's my private pleasure. Midnight fantasy.
Without Buddy Booth, there would not have been any, focus that came to where it was. That's why he put the band together. He wanted the greatest players he could find and the freedom to cut the best tracks he could find to make the best records out of his songs. And he co-wrote with Dean. A lot of these guys turned out to be great writers.
If you listen to Atlanta Rhythm Section, almost every song we ever had is built around a guitar lick. Guitar lick, I mean, you get an idea, and you say, what guitar lick are you going to put with that idea? Because there was exceptions that were doing So Into You. But other than that, I mean, this is a guitar band.
Imagination's unreal.
I found that the better the guitar player, the better the co-writer for me, because I couldn't add anything in that area. So I've always gravitated toward good guitar players.
Our music was really based and built around songs that were crafted to be songs, that could be easy listening songs.
Most of my writing with Buddy was involved with Robert, the drummer at the time. And we had a good run there. We had some pretty good chemistry writing-wise.
Buddy Bowie always says, but Ronnie, you're not right about this, but I swear I am. We played 285 days a year for a couple of years. Now, if we didn't, I was just got a great imagination. But I'm telling you, long about the time Champagne Jam came along, we had been on the road severely for a long time. And if we weren't on the road, we'd just take a week off and go back in the studio. And the way we worked in the studio was like, man, we always have done that. We'd go in Monday and go till we dropped, and come in a little later Tuesday and go till we dropped. And we did that 5 days a week. We'd go home and just crash on the weekends and start over. So it was beginning to take its toll on us all. And just the whole thing was coming unraveled a little bit. People getting ragged. And, little factions were being drawn, and people were taking sides on silly things that didn't mean anything looking back on it. It was just pressure.
I think probably it's the stress and the strain from the basic non-stop that you have to do to put an album out a year. And by around 1980, I think everybody was getting kind of,
I don't know if we lost focus or if just everything changed that was going on. About that time, disco was just becoming huge, and Southern rock was yesterday's news. And we were moving in our own direction.
I'm not the only one.
I think Buddy was just as tired of it as we were. Because not only was he writing the songs, but he was producing and he was managing. And he never liked being a manager. You know, Buddy's a creative person. He's great at it. He knows what he's doing. He knows what to do and how to go about doing it. He's a pro, but that's not what he likes to do. So at a point, came the time, he said, you guys could probably do better with somebody else. I'm step aside as manager.
I'm not the only one.
The old story, everybody was developing individual outside interest, wanting to try other things. And some of us did, and some of us didn't. And I don't think anything particularly came out of the other solo attempts, projects, but at least we got a chance to find out what we wanted to do, try some other shots.
We continued on, Barry and I, and JR for a while, and then JR went with up to Nashville and then to Memphis, working with the publishing company and also doing sessions.
We got away from the pressure and got away from the madness and got our senses back, our sanity back, grew up a little bit, and ultimately realized that if we're going to still be in the music business, we want to be involved with the best we can be involved with, the people we can get along with, people we trust and know. So we all gravitated right back together towards the end of the 80s, started doing some live dates. Thinking about things, and it's led us up to 1996, got the 25th anniversary album, Partly Plugged. I think Partly Plugged is Unplugged is a perfect way to do a lot of our things because all the songs are written on acoustic guitars or pianos.
It's great today when you get 20-year-old kids bringing their parents' record collection in for autographs and telling us, yeah, our parents really like y'all. We like you too. That's rewarding.
Rising above the madness, homeward bound again to normal ways and lazy days and all the familiar friends. Some conversation with my lady, some love long overdue. God knows I hate to leave her, but I got a job to do. She said, lady, I gotta try to get some. Let's get everything behind just one more time. We are loving the life we're living, playing that Georgia rhythm, making music, moving on down the line. One more time, lay down back, back on the trust. Let's get everything behind just one more time. One more time, loving the life we're living, playing that Georgia rhythm. Nothing else ever made me feel this bad.